And here he comes. Welcome to, we're going to add Brian Neubert right to there he is. That's
track of time, my fault.
Beauty of live stream. Welcome to Acre Pro Wednesday Night Live with Tom Dienhart and Brian Neubert from State College. We'll be talking a little bit of coaching search, take some questions as well. Want to thank Acre Pro when it comes to land sales. It pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists with decades of experience. You're going to have to give me a minute. Yeah, you're fine. I'm going to mute you here, and you can do. There you go. With decades of experience, I should say, in Indiana agriculture, no one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-775-6502 or talk to your local land expert. Again, that number 765-775-6502. All right. Welcome. And it's a blustery night in Lafayette. How is it in State College, Brian? How was the drive over from Pittsburgh? Whoop! Get your mute off there. I can unmute you, I think. Whoop! There you go.
Yeah, no, it's snowing. The highway is bad, or the state highway, whatever it is, that goes between Pittsburgh and State College. And I was smart about it for once. I actually just got in the car and went. I didn't screw around in Pittsburgh like I normally do, and I got here just before it got really bad.
Yeah, it's just like
I'm good.
Yeah, and Tom said your power was out briefly and on Forest Hill, but it stayed okay here. But it just blew up here in a bit. All right, we have as is usually the case on Wednesday night, the pretty full room, a little more full than usual, which is not shocking. Tom, I know we're kind of living this day to day, and you're putting reports out on a daily basis. I want to say what's news today, but what's news today? Anything from that standpoint that I know you've posted several things on the site as well, but what's the latest, as they say?
Yeah, really nothing substantial, to be honest with you. The lid's pretty tight, just a lot of speculation. People think they know, and they've all got their hot names. They swear this guy's been offered the job. This guy is the front runner. Nobody knows. I mean, again, I think maybe as we inch closer to, the day it happens, maybe some information of real substance gets out then. I've not really heard anything that I can hang my hat on at this point, just speculation and conjecture. It just seems like there's a few things I feel confident about. I do think they want to have a coach by Monday, right? I feel that it really is the case, and I think we all can agree that this guy's got to be a proven head coach. And some have told me that the next coach is working this weekend, so that gives you 5 or 6 names right there, guys, who would make a lot of sense to be the next Purdue head coach. The Tyson Heltons, the Barry Odoms, John Summerall, Jeff Monken, Charles Huff. There's any number of guys that have been speculated that would make a lot of sense. So, yeah, those are a few things that I think that may have a little bit of substance to them. But, again, I think Mike Bobanski's going to keep this thing pretty zipped up at this point.
Yeah. I think it is interesting when got people texting me, not on an hourly basis, on watching flight patterns and all that kind of stuff. Brian and Tom, we had some fun back in the day with trying to follow that. I still remember Christy Curry and Texas Tech way back in the day, but that flight aware stuff is not as useful anymore. I know I had somebody talk about San Antonio. But go ahead.
Athletic directors figured it out years ago, and they can get their records expunged, or they just drive or fly commercial, and then there's just nothing you can do. I think there was kind of a few-year period there where fans and media figured it out, but the people actually taking the flights didn't realize what was going on, and they got smart to it, and they've started working around it. I know Babinski. I obviously covered the process with Brahm. I know Babinski was very aware of that, not flight aware, just generally aware of that. And if he flew to Bowling Green to see Jeff Brahm, I think he either flew commercial to Nashville or he went into some little regional airport like an hour and a half away or something like that. He wouldn't go directly into Bowling Green, or he just drove, which I think might have been the case. He's got to figure it out. So I wouldn't expect the case to get cracked based on flight aware.
Yeah, I think that's I think I do remember Ryan Walters supposedly interviewed at the Mount Comfort Airport, which is a regional airport. I don't even know if he ended up driving over from Champaign at the time. Daryl Hazel, I think it was, at the Akron Airport. So at least one of his main interviews. So it is interesting that they being coaches don't necessarily, and Tom, they don't necessarily have to set foot on campus. You think, well, gosh, the wife and family have to come and check it all out. Those days are long gone, it seems, when it comes to coaching searches. Who knows? But that seems like that's the way of the world now.
Yeah, I mean they've got their ways, I'm sure, to try to keep things under wraps and probably do things virtually. I think a lot of stuff with Walters and this year was done virtually. So
yeah,
and then when you meet face to face, these guys are a lot smarter than me, can figure out ways to get together under clandestine terms, I guess, and to remain incognito, if you will, or at least inconspicuous. So they got to figure it out that they don't want to spoil the party here. And like I said, we'll know soon enough. And yeah, again, just the you think the general profile of what this next guy's got to be like. And like I said, it's got to be a proven head coach. So you can eliminate anybody who's obviously not that. Now, as an offensive guy or defensive guy, Babinski said that he didn't really care which side of the ball they came from. He just wants a good head coach. And that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to eliminate somebody just because they may be a defensive-minded coach. But that's how they're brought up. I mean, I still think they got to go with an offensive guy, though. I really do. Just given what they just walked through with Ryan Walters, a young, unproven defensive guy. I think Brian said at one time, Purdue may have to they're probably going to overcorrect with this hire. And I'm making that assumption, but I wouldn't be shocked if they don't maybe overcorrect and get, again, an offensive proven head coach. And I think a guy who's tough, a no-nonsense tough guy. And there's a few guys, Chuck Martin comes to mind, Jeff Monken, guys of that ilk really fit that bill. So again, I don't know what you guys think, but man, walking a guy like that up to the press conference to me would make the most sense.
I was going to throw and we'll throw a question out there just because, and Brian, you can comment on that as well. But all right, given the NIL situation at Purdue, it would make sense to bring the Army coach and his system to Purdue. Revenue, of course, talking about Jeff Monken, revenue sharing would still bring talent bigger, faster, and stronger than the academies. I can't imagine he's going to leave the academy, but who knows? Brian, you guys have both written about the NIL situation. You did in your weekly word today that was insightful to what Purdue's up against. Ryan Walters mentioned it yesterday in Tom's exclusive with him about where Purdue was. It was kind of enlightening where he said they were when he first got her, the first part of his gig. Mm-hmm. Brian, maybe talk a little bit about that role and what you see from not necessarily just with Monken, but that the NIL world and what role that can play. Both of you guys could certainly lay comment to that.
Well, I'm generally skeptical of academy coaches at a high major level because they obviously have to play academy football because of the limitations that come with the caliber of athlete and the size of the athlete. To be honest with you, in Air Force's case, they can't. If you can't fit in a cockpit, then you that kind of narrows your offensive tackle recruiting pool. I also don't know if your necessarily coaching discipline or if the discipline's just part of the deal. It's built into your recruits because, I mean, if you're going to an academy, you're not learning discipline from your football coach. You're naturally that wired that way. So I'm always skeptical of a coach's ability to go from an academy to a high major level. I know Troy Calhoun has come up with every coaching search ever in the last 20 years, and he has bent over backwards every time to make it known out there that he was in the NFL before he was at an academy, so that people didn't view him as like a triple option coach. But that's naturally the assumption everybody's going to make. Now, you also can't question winning. And the interesting thing about Jeff Monken is that Purdue wanted his brother last time too. And
yeah,
I wonder if Todd talked to Jeff at all about Purdue. Todd wanted a bigger college job or an NFL job, and he ended up as the offensive coordinator with the Ravens. I'd imagine he'll be there for a while. His next move will be an NFL head coach or a blue blood in college football, I'd imagine. But that is kind of a little bit of serendipity if Purdue is in fact looking at Jeff Monken. I have no idea if they are or not, but he probably does have his federal pension by now. So if he wants to move up, now would probably be the time.
And he is good. He's done a great job there. I mean, It's hard to, but some of the points you mentioned are certainly that the case from that standpoint. Again, some other questions here. And do we think we, being Purdue, a more attractive job than North Carolina?
No.
Candidates?
No.
I don't. But Brian's emphatic. Tom, thought?
Yeah, there's only 4 Power 4 jobs open right now. That's one of them. Central Florida, West Virginia, and Purdue. And if you were to rank those 4, Purdue may be the 4th least desirable of all of them, honestly. North Carolina is without a doubt the best of those 4 jobs. West Virginia, Central Florida, you're talking about, 2 Big 12 schools. Man, I don't know. Central Florida's pretty nice job, I think. The Big 12, being right there in Orlando, Florida, big school, great recruiting base, conference you can win in. Doesn't have any giants in it. West Virginia is sort of the same way. Maybe Purdue's better in West Virginia, but I guess my point is, North Carolina, I think, is the best of those 4 without a doubt. So I guess my greater point is without much competition, right? You think Purdue could have their pick of a pretty good coach here, right? So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where Babinski lands. Talked about a lot of different guys, 3 coaches in the MAC. I think Tim Albin, people think maybe headed to Charlotte, but a lot of people like Chuck Martin, it's Miami of Ohio. A lot of people like Jason Candle at Toledo. So again, I think given the lack of competition, Purdue could have their chance to at least vet and look at some pretty good coaches.
Yeah, you're gonna look at this. All right.
Now, actually,
go ahead, Brian.
One more thing. What happens if Ohio State opens up? Then the whole thing, the whole carousel blows up. There's this whole chain reaction of moves that come from that. Now, that's a long way off. They're in the playoff, but
Purdue's going to have a coach before then anyway. So
well, right, but
Purdue.
But you're right. It can
you
change
kind of
things
wonder if some of these candidates might say, "Hey, I'm gonna kind of sit back here and see what happens here around the country."
I don't think any of the guys Purdue's looking at would be on Ohio State's radar.
I don't mean they'd be on Ohio State's radar. I mean they'd be on the radar to replace the guy who goes to Ohio State.
Well, Matt, you're talking about a lot of.
Or to replace the guy who replaces the guy who goes to Ohio State. The whole chain reaction.
If somebody.
Though you're right. I think the earliest. That chain reaction will be at least a couple weeks away if that happens. That's $37 million buyout too, right? So,
well,
I guess
he could also golden parachute it.
Yeah. He will if that ends up happening. That's for sure. A question about JMU's coach, obviously not Kurt Signetti, but his replacement Chesney. I'm drawing a blank on his first name,
Bob.
And I think he's Bob Chesney.
Not Kenny.
Yeah, yeah. And Bob said, "I'd like to see JMU's head coach." Any comments there? I mean, obviously James Madison's done well with even Forkin. He's only been out. Bob Chesney's only been the head coach there for a year. He kept it going there relatively well. But again, another guy on the list, but who the heck knows on that front. Any thoughts?
I like guys who built something themselves.
There's no way a guy like that's getting a look.
Yeah. Let's see.
I think the guy that I don't think Purdue could get in on that is intriguing, that was 2 years at Troy State and is at Tulane, is John Summerall. I think that's a guy that's got a lot of legs, and I wonder if Purdue could get in a conversation with him.
What do you like? Right? Yeah, well, I know he's a hot name. And he was 2 years at Troy State before they hired Jared Parker.
2 years at Troy, and then he's been at Tulane this last year. He was Willie Fritz.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Mark Stoops' name gets brought up by some people. Kentucky, he's been there 12 years. People say he's looking for an escape hatch. They sort of want a mutual divorce there. I think everybody's sick of everybody else. Fans are sick of him. He's sick of them. I think that if he wants to leave, they'd be happy if he left. He almost left last year. He had the A&M job. Got torpedoed by the boosters down there in College Station. That's an interesting name. I don't know if I get any traction or not. He's obviously a defensive coach. He's done a very good job at a school that's tough to win a lot of football games at. Midwestern guy, Youngstown, Ohio. And just kind of an interesting name to think about. Yeah.
I think it's going to be an interesting front with the that would be a name that, and we'd again heard some different intel, and whether any of it's true, and we have to take it all with a grain of salt, is certainly the whole notion that there were some high level administrators in a meeting this past Sunday talking about the whole notion of, well, we're going to have, we're going to get somebody that we, being Purdue, get somebody that you're going to know. Not necessarily a big name, but a name that and it's going to be a large staff. I mean, Brian, is it as simple? Nothing simple about this, but the Joe Tiller formula. We talk about the Signetti form. If you could transpose or move Tiller from 1997 and to 2024 and that staff, and I suppose he probably could have brought some pretty good players from Wyoming there as well. I mean, that's got to be seems to me what you're looking for if you could somehow get that done, is get as many staff members as you can, get as cohesive a unit as possible. Yeah, you agree on that front?
Yeah, if you could transpose Joe Tiller from 1997 to 2024, he'd been canceled weeks ago. But I think that that's the game now, is continuity.
Yeah.
And I don't want to compare football and basketball because they're two very different sports, but you look at what continuity has done for Purdue basketball. When you can bring in a head coach, and now it's going to be this general manager, those two have to coexist in a very, very positive, productive manner. But as many staff members as you can bring, as many players as you can bring nowadays. Purdue is kind of on the front end of that with Jeff Brom, because he basically was going to take whoever he wanted from Western Kentucky. And I think Western Kentucky made us think about it even. Because back then tampering was at least frowned upon. Now it's just open season. But obviously he ended up bringing TJ McCollum. A few years later, he brought the offensive lineman whose name I can't remember. Ended up bringing Ben Holt a few years later. And some of those guys were really important players. I know for a while there they were considering. I remember I had somebody reach out to me probably on the Brahms' behalf to ask me what would happen in the locker room if they brought in Mike White to right on top of David Blau. And so they were obviously talking.
Right. I remember
they're obviously talking about bringing Mike White. So that's kind of college football nowadays, is not only who's the head coach, how many staff members can he bring, how much of his team can he bring. So I'm sure that's part of what Purdue's looking at too. It's so odd to talk about this. Like,
I know,
are you hiring a coach or are you hiring a nucleus of a team? Which you're hiring both, but you also have to get that general manager position. That guy or woman has to be sharp as a tack, and those two have to get along very well. And
I love how you
GM
put woman in there. We're gonna hire them, which would be cool, man. Let's hire the first female Power 4 coach.
Duke basketball hired a marketing woman
Yeah.
from Nike as their GM. So,
I don't know, as a GM,
there's no reason. It's
right.
a business position. It's also I don't want to say customer service type of position, but who's getting the angry phone calls during the season? Who's getting the calls from so-and-so's agent after they make 12 tackles in a game and they want more money because of it? It's not going to be the head coach. It's going to be the general manager. That is going to be, you're going to have a very patient person in that role. And you got to get the right person in that job because it's going to be probably just as important as the head coach, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's going to be important in the new world. All right, one other person that we talked about, Trailer from Texas, San Antonio. Again, somebody with charting planes between San Antonio and Lafayette. There have been several, I think, in the last few days. I don't know much about him. I know he's had some success there. His record's about 39-14. Anybody know much about him as a coach? I don't. They're the Roadrunners. Is that right? The Texas San Antonio.
Isn't that where Walters hired their offensive line coach away from, and then Matt Maddox resigned before he coached a game?
Yeah,
I think that's right. That's right. So another name to be thrown out into the mix. And again, anybody's guess is as good as anyone else's in terms of this. In terms of, and I want to ask you, Tom, just going to go back to your story that you wrote when you did get a chance to talk to Ryan Walters yesterday, or I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. But just it was a good story, and obviously a lot of people enjoyed reading it. But what was your take just on him? He's a subdued type character as it is, but I thought it was great that he was willing to do the interview and was somewhat it was insightful to at least what his perspective on everything was. But what else from your comments having a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, I mean, he's always the same guy. He's kind of an understated personality. It was the same as always. There was nothing really, I guess, revolutionary about his answers or how he sounded. I mean, I kind of wonder if maybe he was still a little dazed and confused. It's been a crazy year. I know people have told me how they've described him as being, quote, beat up. I can't imagine the stress of the last 3 months, and then culminating in losing your job, and there's got to be some shame with that, right? There is, to go out like that, to fail your first chance at it. So let's not kid ourselves. I think those are just natural human emotions. He didn't really sound despondent when I spoke with him. Like I said, maybe still in a state of shock, so to speak. I mean, I'm just making assumptions here. I really have no idea. But he's always been, I'll just say, he's always been very accommodating to the media. He's always been patient. He's always been accessible. He's always been fair. I mean, that was right up till last time we spoke on Monday. From the day I first heard from him a couple years ago to the end, he was always the same person. And it's hard, he's only 37, 38 years old, and you live and you learn, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. He didn't know what he was going to do next. He thought maybe there's a chance he could get employed later this spring, possibly. That was a possibility as well. So, we all know he's going to land somewhere. And does he go to the NFL and coach the secondary? Does he coach the secondary in the college game? Does he become a defensive coordinator somewhere in the college game? It'll be interesting to see where he lands and where some of these other staffers land as well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, this is nepotism at its finest. My brother, who I talked to about 10 minutes before the start, said, "Hey, tune in tonight." Well, he did. Any thoughts? And Tom, I know you tweeted about Dylan Thieneman entering the portal. No great surprise, but is everybody going to enter the portal in your view at the end of the day? Do you see all the quote unquote stars having that happen?
I think a lot
stars, and using that term loosely. Go ahead.
Well, I think there's four pseudo stars at least.
Yeah.
I think there's 4 guys they don't want to lose. I'm told. Max Clare, Devin Mockabee, Dylan Thieneman, and Will Helt. I think I call those the big four. And you've already seen one jump in the portal.
And they can come back.
I think,
right? Yeah.
I think Thieneman is more than open to coming back from what I'm told. One of the schools supposedly that's got him in the crosshairs is Ohio State. So we'll see. You know, there's all there is in West Lafayette right now are question marks and unknowns. The longer this drags on, the more people in these guys' ears. But I'm sure they would like to know what's going to go on at Purdue, who's going to coach them is number one, and what the NIL situation is going to be. And right now, nobody can really probably answer their questions to their satisfaction. So why not kick the tires? Purdue's under no obligation to take anybody back. Nobody is once you hit the portal. I have to think this is going to be a door that swings both ways with Purdue and their situation and they're at. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Claire jumps in. I'm not sure about Mockabee. I know Mockabee's got a lot of people in his ear as well. And Will Helt's going to have options too. But, yeah, people can't wig out. You know, there's still these guys I think are still going to consider coming back. And I know Dylan Thieneman is still going to consider coming back as well. So, yeah, it's just an unpleasant time for Purdue football fans right now with what really is a chaotic situation.
Yeah. Brian, you had something you wanted to add? Whoop.
I can't believe after the 2020 disaster, I still haven't figured out muting and unmuting. Anyway,
me too.
I just wanted to say something real quick along those lines. I think we should acknowledge, not give all the credit to, but what Ryan Walters' system last year did for Dylan Thieneman. Mm-hmm. You know, putting him in position to make so many interceptions, counting on him to be that deep guy all the time. He really fit that well. If somebody comes in and runs it like a cover 2 defense or something like that, that's going to be very different from what Dylan Thieneman's done. Now, Dylan Thieneman didn't have a great year this year. I don't know how many people did. But the year before, he was really good. And I think Purdue's system put him in a lot of positions to show what he can do, played to his strengths very well. And I think it would be wise for him to find a system that would really, really allow him to play in space and you know, be able to do a lot of the stuff he showed he can do at Purdue last year. Why he was so inconsistent tackling this year, I have no idea. But that was obviously a big step back for him.
But you know darn well that they're going to. You know darn well that there are going to be some people that will want him. Tom, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, he would admit that. I think, like you said, Brian, nobody really had a good year, right? Now, let's not kid ourselves. And yeah, these guys have agents, too. I know Max Claire has an agent. People looking out for him. And I think they just want to know what's going to go on here. I know Max Claire, I'm told, isn't just obsessed with chasing the dollar bill. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to be developed and used properly. Who's going to throw footballs to him as well. So those are a lot of questions that Purdue obviously can't answer right now. So, yeah, we've seen 11 guys jump in the portal so far. Cole Brevard, Musa, Coy Beasley, and we saw Yanni Karloftis. How about that?
Yeah.
Not a shock there either. So, yeah, I mean, every time you pick your phone up, so-and-so, Brian Neubert's entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I got spit back out in State College, Pennsylvania.
Well, it's funny because somebody made a. I was looking here, talked about your. Oh, here it is, Meisterberg. I love this. Brian's shirt matches the drapes, and that's true. You are a dead ringer in that hotel room. What lovely establishment are you in? Or do you not want to admit it because your groupies may find you? So you do not have to say
outside his door right now.
No. It's a Marriott property. I can't keep them all straight. It's Fairfield. It's a Fairfield.
He's got a whole posse waiting for him down at the hotel bar there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
big plate of nachos waiting for him.
Yeah. All right, I do want, since you are in State College and you are going to cover a basketball game tomorrow, and obviously Karma got Matt Painter today, and we had some video on that. Just tomorrow night, 6:30, I believe, tip Purdue and Penn State. Purdue 1.5-point underdog I saw somewhere. What do you know, Brian? Obviously, every game on the road is tough. Matt Painter talked about it in his comments about you have to go back. If you're looking at how Purdue plays on the road, you have to go back and look at Marquette. You can't look at the last two games. That's Painter talk, as he usually does. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying that playing on the road, though, playing at Penn State is always a unique deal because you're still not going to have – you're going to have 5,000 people there probably tomorrow night. But what do you expect tomorrow night? I know you're going to be writing your preview, and we're going to bring this to a close shortly so you can do that. But what are you seeing for tomorrow night for Purdue?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, you know, Purdue came here a few years ago when Shrewsbury was coaching here and had to hang on for dear life to win when Purdue was the much better team. This is the game every year that Purdue has a hell of a time with. They've lost at Nebraska before. They lost at Northwestern last year. They had to fight like hell to beat Nebraska a couple years ago in overtime in this Big Ten December opener on the road. So I'd expect it to be kind of the same. Yeah, it isn't going to be a daunting environment, but I think Penn State's going to be up where Purdue is still a marked program on a lot of these people's schedules. And, you know, I've kind of wondered these past few Decembers, is there something about Big Ten basketball that just becomes like a glass of cold water in your face? Yeah. It's such a stark contrast from what you're playing in non-conference. But now that the league is so eclectic that there's, you know, you have Mike Rhodes, you know, doing more full court pressure than traditionally occurs in the Big Ten. Now you've got the West Coast involved. So I don't know if Big Ten play anymore is really Big Ten play anymore. So I don't know if that theory has any legs or not, but Purdue has struggled in this game before. And I would expect it to be a very difficult game. Ace Baldwin's going to be up for this game. Penn State's played pretty well. Mike Rhodes is a good coach. That he seems to have some momentum building there. But you know, Purdue's going to have to keep playing well, and I wouldn't expect them not to. It's just going to come down to taking care of the basketball and making shots and all the stuff Purdue's done pretty well here through these last couple weeks.
Yeah. All right, I do want to go at one person we didn't talk about that I've had a couple questions about, Troy Helton, Western Kentucky.
Tyson.
Kind of Tyson, not Troy. Tyson Helton. Mm-hmm. I'll get it right before Purdue names him as the head coach. No, any thoughts on that? Was one last question because we kind of talked about Western Kentucky a little bit on the front end, but Tom, I know the rumor was last time he was a finalist, didn't quote unquote interview well, whatever that means, but he's had success at Western, obviously, since Jeff Brommel has left. He's been successful. He's been over 500, been to bowl games. I'll get either one of your thoughts of that, and then we'll close this baby out. So go ahead.
I'm just not sure how performing in a job interview should have anything to do with how kind of a football coach you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's all rumor.
Look at my film. Look at my results. Who cares how I answer questions?
Anyway. I think it was more along the lines of maybe he wasn't as excited about things. And he might just be that kind of personality type. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's just totally absurd if that's the case anyway. But you want to hire the slick guy then. But anyway, he was the guy they supposedly talked to last time, and he may be on the radar once again, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Some people thought they didn't want to hire him last time because I was told he was a mini Brom. He was another Jeff Brom. Well, was that such a bad thing? So anyway.
Well, that depends who's coming with him.
True.
Anyway,
true.
Yeah, he's some people thought, he's lost a lot of good players, guys on his staff. He's had a couple coordinators leave that have gone on. One guy got a head coaching job. But anyway, Tyson Helton. I think without a doubt will be a guy you'd want to talk to. Great success. He's playing this weekend as well for a championship. He's been to a bowl like all 6 years. He's been in Bowling Green as well. So that's a guy that they think they would have a lot of interest in talking to as well. So Charles Huff's a name too. Charles Huff, everybody says he's going to go to Southern Miss. He's not going to be back at Marshall, they say, because him and the AD don't get along. And he's going to go to Southern Miss. He wasn't involved at Purdue last time, but he loved to get involved this time. But it seems like that's not going to be the case. But just keep Charles Huff and Marshall on your radar too, I guess.
Yeah,
I think it would be awesome if someone named Tyson came to coach Purdue.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are there any other chicken producing corporations that we could somehow incorporate into this football program?
Yeah.
Anyway,
we need the money from a sponsorship standpoint. I think they'd come forward without question.
I like about Tyson Helton's body of work at Western Kentucky is he built that back up. He didn't take over what Brom left. Mike Sanford did, and Mike Sanford, like Ryan Walters, got fired after year 2.
Right.
And then Tyson Helton came in and built it back into what it is now. And they have not only been good on offense, but they've been good on defense too. And with these offenses, this lineage of Jeff Brom, Bobby Petrino type of offenses, very rarely are they good on defense. I think it's just kind of the general give and take of football in large part, that it's hard to have enough athletes to be good on both ends of the field. Sorry, I completely lost that sentence. But also the whole complementary football part of it that we've been talking about all year. But he just seems like he's run a complete program there, and he comes from great coaching stock, obviously, in the Helton family. And he has 2 more years of head coaching experience from the last time Purdue talked to him, and maybe that has made him a better coach now than he was then. I don't know, but I know his defensive coordinator is up for the Broyles Award or something, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Bring him.
He's good. Yeah. But Barry Oden's been a name that's gotten some traction too. But people pointed out that the Ren Baker, the AD at West Virginia, him and Barry are buddies from the Missouri days, and maybe Barry's going to go to West Virginia. So I think he's a defensive head coach. I'm not going to eliminate anybody because of that, but Barry had some success at Mizzou and has done a great job in 2 years out in Las Vegas. So that's a name a lot of people are still sort of stumping around.
All right, I said that we were going to get to the last question. One quick thing I wanted, because Tom, you covered today, Purdue had how many signees? How many guys actually signed on the dotted line? Was it 7? I didn't.
6 guys signed today. 6 guys signed. 2 guys are going to come early. Landon Brooks, the defensive end from Muncie, and the quarterback Sawyer Anderson from Dallas are the only 2 that are going to get here in January. They're going to live together, and that's what you would suspect, given the circumstances Purdue's in right now. I mean, the fact anybody signed with the school that's got no head coach, these aren't 5-star recruits, but you never know. They're typically the kind of guys they're going to sign with Purdue anyway. At least they got 6 guys here, and 3 of them are in-state kids. They got the linebacker from Fort Wayne too, Sam Seward is coming as well. So, and Dron Thomas, I like him a lot at Elkhart High School, and of course, I talked about Brooks from Muncie. And the one guy who didn't sign today, that may be one of the bigger headlines, was Cameron Gorin. Brandon Gorin's son from Hamilton Southeastern High School.
Yeah, that's right.
They just sort of want to see how things flesh out here. Didn't want to make a move right at this point. They very well may still sign with Purdue. They just wanted to be a little more cautious at this point. So that was one that we expected to come in that did not come in today. And so that's that was again not totally shocking, but again Cameron could end up being in West Lafayette before we know it. And again, these guys got 48 hours here, and then they got to wait till February 5th for the next traditional high school signing day. So, and again, that's a date to know, February 5th. Of course, Monday I mentioned December 9th. The portal opens up, and that's why you want to have a head coach in place, a guy who can start selling Purdue and what they have to offer to these kids in the portal and start rebuilding this roster.
Yeah, no doubt. Brian, last word. Go ahead, man.
I think with these recruits, not to question what they're doing with their lives, but it is so important that you sign with a coach that wants you. And how do you know if this new coach is going to want you when you don't know who that coach is? So I'm a bit surprised as many guys signed as they did. And there's something to be said for taking your spot too, and things like that. If you really, really want to come to Purdue, which I think if you have kids who really want to be at Purdue and really want to be part of something bigger than themselves and want to be here for all the right reasons, great. You just hope like hell that whoever the new coach is looks at these guys and says, hey, I could use that guy. There were good players, I thought, that came from Brahms rosters to Ryan Walters that they viewed very differently. I thought Corday Sidnor was a good player. And Walters and them just had no use for him, apparently. I think the guys coming in now just don't know what their future coaches are going to think about them. And that's kind of a precarious situation if you're hoping to be a really, really important player for this program here in the years to come. But kudos to them. If they really wanted to come to Purdue, or that's where they want to get their degree from, if they just want to be part of Purdue, you can't have enough inherent investment on your team.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right, guys, thank you very much, Brian. Get a good night's rest, hopefully, as you get ready for tomorrow. Tom, you too. And you've been working it hard here as we get head on a swivel time, I guess. But let's hope take as long Purdue as you need to, so to speak. But it would be I'm pushing for that Monday hire. That'd be fine by me to get that done. But it is interesting.
Let me get back. Let me get back.
Well, I think. Well, you may have the way things go. The way things go with your travel, sometimes you might not be back by Monday. Now you got to be back by Sunday. You got a basketball game when Purdue takes on Maryland at home at noon on Sunday. So, all right, look for Brian's work.
I heard sirens behind one.
What's that?
One of you guys. What? I was waiting for one of your doors to get kicked in.
I
heard sirens behind one of you guys. I was waiting for one of your doors to get kicked in.
Yeah, it's still blowing like crazy up here, but it's not as bad on Sumac Drive. All right, Brian, we'll look forward to your coverage tomorrow. Tom will be back at it with Dave. I guess it's day 4. We'll have a little bit more of that and have some fun. Might as well. It's interesting. We'll see what happens, and we'll look forward to getting an answer on that, and we'll also obviously look forward to Brian's coverage of Purdue men's basketball tomorrow night in Happy Valley. So have a great rest of the evening, everybody. Thank you to acrepro.com, Kyle Spray and Company. We appreciate them. You can call Kyle. You can call him right now if you want, but it's 765-775-6502. You can talk to your local land expert. That's what Acre Pro is. It pays to have experts in your corner. I'm lucky to have 2 of them here. Acre Pro, Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists. So make sure if you're doing a 1031 deal or anything else when it comes to farm real estate, talk to the folks at Acre Pro. So have a great rest of your evening. Thanks to all of you. And we'll see you next time on our Wednesday Night Live. We are going to do Wednesday Night Live periodically during during basketball season. Not an every week thing, but we will do it because we can't wear out Brian any more than we already are, but we will look forward to that as well. So, all right, have a great rest of your evening all, and thanks for watching and listening. And if you missed part of this, this will be posted on the site, and we'll have an audio version as well. Take care all.